Welcome back, folks. Now, it's probably hyperbole to say that the carnivore diet saved my life, but I feel like it's more or less true. Would I have died without it? Probably not. Maybe quicker than I otherwise would have. Hard to know. But yeah, okay, maybe it's hyperbole to say that the carnivore diet saved my life, but what it did do was dramatically change it. It made my life something where it's actually worth living, that's actually livable. Because before I went on the carnivore diet, I was not in a good place physically. I was overweight as it was. And I wasn't like the heaviest guy you've ever seen in the world. I was only around 95 kilos. However, with that came chronic illness, not caused by the weight, but certainly exacerbated by it. Over a prolonged period of time, this took its toll on my body and made it so that it was extremely difficult to live a fulfilling life, made it extremely difficult to go out and get employed. And so I spent a good chunk of time working to try and alleviate those symptoms so that I could get back into the real world and start living again. I tried a lot. The medical professionals couldn't really do much for me. But what I did do in the end was dramatically change my diet. Now, I coupled this with, regular walks, improving my stamina, my agility. But overall, what I did was I dramatically changed my diet, eliminated most of the junk from my life, and focused on a very strict and clear eating plan. It was rather simple. I would have half a kilo of meat either once every day or every 36 hours typically. And then if I needed a snack in between, it would be cans of tuna. Now, this is, of course, a very high-fat diet because I need all of my energy from fat rather than carbohydrates, and so that's why it's important that I eat enough of it. Fortunately, especially once you start getting rid of all the junk, you have less cravings, and you're only ever really hungry. And when you're hungry, you know that you can either have one of your snacks or you can eat. Now, many people will teach you just eat when you feel like you need to eat, and that's a pretty good measurement for how much you need to consume because your body knows. I know when I need food. Right now, I'm probably in need of food, but I can hold off a couple hours. But overall, you're very in touch with what your body needs, and it enables you to lose weight, stop eating as much junk, and feel overall better about yourself. So this is why I took interest when Stuff published an article, which is just regurgitating the same nonsense from across the Western world's media, about diet. Notably, it's a bit more of a beat up on RFK and the whole MAGA movement and MAGA health. But it has a section dedicated to the carnivore diet, which I wanted to take a look at because it included a poll of people who just go on and click on the article. So, of course, I did it. It has a question and 3 choices for you to pick from. Firstly, would you try the carnivore diet is the question. The answers being, yes, this is what we're meant to eat. No, it's not healthy. And I'm interested but don't think I could do it. As you could imagine, the popular answer is, no, it's not healthy. 56% of respondents said that. Only 28% said, yes, this is what we're meant to eat. I was obviously in that 28%. Now, I probably wouldn't go as far as saying, yes, that's what we're meant to eat, but it's certainly, yes, it's a realistic alternative to people who are dealing with a range of different issues or just are desperate to try something else. I can only look at the results others have achieved and my own experience, and I can only judge its effectiveness and its threat based on that. Why? Because there isn't really much in the way of studies into the diet itself. There may be studies which are very poorly put together that try and claim that red meat is bad for you, that red meat is going to kill you. That the most red meat that you should have in a week is like 350 grams or something. Meanwhile, I have that in a day. Ideally, I'll have half a kilo every 36 hours. And you need that. I need the fat intake. And contrary to popular belief, I'm getting rid of all of that fat just like that. So it's not like having all this fatty food is going to fatten me up and strangle my organs. No, I'm getting rid of it all. And then all the rest of the meat has all the protein, the nutrients that I need in order to survive. Prior to the diet, I very much had brain fog. I very much had chronic fatigue. They were kind of linked together. I now rarely struggle with either. In fact, the only times where they really impact me now is when I'm being a little bit too lenient with myself and focusing a little bit too much on the keto side of things rather than the strict carnivore side of things. But allow me to get to the actual article. It's only a small section here, because we don't really need to go into all of it. Both Peterson, being Jordan Peterson, and Joe Rogan have, for instance, endorsed the so-called carnivore diet, under which only consumption of animal products such as meat, eggs, seafood, and dairy is permitted and processed foods are strictly prohibited, although Rogan admitted the diet gave him explosive uber diarrhea. Yes, Rogan did admit that it gave him explosive uber diarrhea. Not every day, not as a direct consequence of the diet as a regular thing, but as a matter of dramatically changing your diet. That tends to happen when you do that. When you go into the keto flu, it's not pleasant. Once you're out of it, oh my goodness, it is bliss. Proponents of the diet says it gives them more energy and mental clarity, with some even claiming it has cured them of autoimmune disease symptoms. Recent reports suggest it is now more popular than the low-carbohydrate, high-fat keto diet, which became popular in the 2010s. People have lost all this weight and they're feeling lots better. We don't have all the answers, but if this is helping people, why not? We have an obesity epidemic here in the States, says Philip Meese, the founder of Carnivore Bar, which sells meal replacement bars made from 100% beef. Meese believes the carnivore movement is drawing from a longing for a simpler, more ancestral type of eating among consumers. It's also a keen observation that something we're doing in modernity is exacerbating the chronic health issue, especially here in the States. We are ground zero for how to wreck your health. I probably wouldn't go as far as saying it's a longing for a simpler, more ancestral type of eating, but I do feel like it's a longing for healthier eating. It is a longing for not feeling like the food that you are consuming is killing you or making you weaker. And he makes a very valid point here about how something we're doing in modernity is exacerbating the chronic health issue. Because it is. Why is it that someone could be having what is often regarded as a balanced diet? How is it that they can switch to the carnivore diet and suddenly feel a million times better? I would argue that the balanced diet isn't particularly good for you. Now, as a baseline diet for people, if they were to say, let's leave out all of the junk, it's probably okay. You're going to be feeling relatively good. Could you feel better? Perhaps. But as we know, in the Western world in particular, we are living in luxury compared to much of the rest of the world. You know, we are able to spoil ourselves. We're able to have that 5-course meal. We're able to have that plate of 100 grams of meat, you know, half a plate of vegetables, you know, the right amount of fiber over here, the right amount of this, the right amount of that. And then we throw that all away when we use cheap seed oils, when we eat cheap ice cream, when we eat all of this sugar in abundance, when we indulge ourselves with the luxuries and don't properly monitor what we're consuming. It's all well and good eating a little bit of meat here and a little bit of veggies there. But if you're not understanding what the impact of all the food that you're eating is actually having on your body, then you're doing yourself a disservice. I've been told by people, even my family, that, oh, you need fiber in your diet. I'm like, do I? Can you explain to me why I need fiber? Because unless you can explain to me why I need fiber, then why should I consume fiber? What purpose does fiber serve in a diet that revolves around meat and eggs? Can you? Is fiber typically what you need to digest meat and eggs? The reality is you don't really need much of that at all with respect to a carnivore diet, because you're not consuming ridiculous amounts of carbs. You're not consuming a ridiculous amount of junk. You may say, oh, you're putting stress on your organs. Am I? Then why are my organs in better shape than ever? Why was I heavily inflamed and now I'm not? Well, why was I chronically unwell and now I'm not? Why was I lacking energy and now I'm not? Apparently a lack of nutrients would give you a lack of energy, would they not? The proof is in the pudding. People can sit there and say, you need fiber. And it's like, well, I have just gone a year with a very small amount of it and have not had any issues with digestion. You're not getting enough nutrients. Is that right? Then why is it that I'm healthier than ever? I don't have any issues with a lack of nutrients in any areas. What people don't understand is the science behind it. What people don't understand is that the studies into meat eating are when you're eating a lot of things, not just meat. And this is why people are manipulated into believing that the carnivore diet is not healthy. It may not be for you. Not everyone needs the same diet. Not everyone is going to respond the same on certain diets. That's the entire reason why we have different diets and why people of different ethnicities, people in different regions, have different diets and have different outcomes related to those diets. There is a very real reason why, notably the Pacifica population, can't tolerate and deal with certain foods the same way as Europeans. I'm not sitting here saying that the carnivore diet's going to work for everyone, that it's going to be for everyone. It's not, of course. No diet is going to be perfect for everyone. Everyone needs to adjust their eating habits to see what makes them feel best. That's what's important. Listen to your body. Have a little checkup on how your health is looking with doctors or whatever. But don't let them tell you what is and is not healthy. You know. You know when you're feeling good. You know when your body's struggling. You know when you're fatigued. You know when you are having trouble concentrating. You know all of these things better than anyone else. Allow your body to tell you what is and is not right.